Welcome to Center Heist Productions. It is June 5th, 2025. Please hit the likes and subscribe down below in the right-hand corner. Muchly appreciated. Thank you for your assistance, and thank you to my followers and listeners. And yes, we do a bit of less taping in the summer months due to we're away a lot. It's going to be hard to say, even around the draft, whether I'll be here or not. I'm just going to jump in anytime I come back and am around. I will address different scenarios. So anyway, exactly what the title states it is, we're going to talk about first, because I may have to do 2 to 3 tapes just on what's on the agenda. I'm going to deal with the draft first. And of course, the big news, as the title states, who's not there at the combine? Ivan Demidov. So this is problematic. And yes, by the way, we're back in our original studio room. We had moved out of it for a bit. I've got the weight machine out, so I have more room. And I'm glad to be back here. It's a better room for me. It's a man cave. Anywho, so let's get right at it. Demidov, again, we just found out due to a lower body injury that he had in his playoffs. There was a play, you seen him kind of go bend the wrong way on it. Anyway, he's rehabbing in Miami. The word is rehabbing, but his agent will not let him talk to anybody, answer any questions, or speak to anyone. So this is what we said. Trouble on the horizon, is there? Here we go again. This reminded us last year and all the hoopla. Here we go again. However, I think we last year it was we vitally needed a forward and didn't do it because we took the fair maneuvers of the Michkov situation. However, now I think what we're going to have to do, if we don't get these interviews and stuff, we're going to have to look at the reports are much better on Demidov than they were on Michkov, even from his own coaching staff. Demidov seems to be a much more team-oriented player. He's more about his team, gets along well, has more dynamic to his game, more of a team player, great scoring capability, great offensive capabilities, but has a great two-way game where I think he's got many pluses, and they're putting him higher than Michkov, so that's good. And I think we're going to have to rely on that. I would hope that Montreal has done their due diligence, because we don't need another draft like last year, because there's comments that it's not so important this year. Well, I'd like to know where you don't see this draft important. It's even more critical because we missed on a forward last year. So anyway, with that being said, yes, we got a great defenseman. No knock against Reinbacher, but I think we really needed a forward at this point because our forward group was so bad. We needed an upgrade, and I think Michkov or even Ryan Leonard would have been the way to go. Not a knock against, it's just that this up-and-coming draft is so defensively top-heavy. So with that being said, I think with the reports of his coaching staff support him and back him, give him a lot more praise in all aspects. It's a different situation. I think, everything's in the draft is almost a crap shoot. We can't strike out this time. If we get to a point where the best player is a defenseman left, we must trade that 5th round and trade it off to a team like Chicago or San Jose and get a top pick for next draft. That's what I would do. Now everybody's going to go, "Oh, you're crazy." No, not crazy. We need a forward that bad. We got enough defensemen. So to me, you would actually set yourself up better and having a better crack at somebody in high positioning in the rankings offensively next year. But I would much prefer, of course, there's only one of 2 players we should be looking at, and I've said it before, it's a bust if we don't. And it is Caden Lindstrom and Demidov. We need a big winger right now to inject for the future. Now, if we can get a good off-season pickup in pre-agency, and you were to put Lindstrom on that in 2 years' time, that could turn out to be something. Now, even at that, you would not feel so bad if you had to go the Demidov route either. That would improve the scoring aspect. You wouldn't have the grit and size, but you would definitely have a more offensive uh, production-wise would be there. So really, bottom dollar in this draft for Montreal, it is of most utter importance that we get this right. And there's only two guys we need to be drafting or to bust. And that is Ivan Demidov or Caden Lidstrom. I'm more in the corner of Lidstrom. I think his injuries are overblown. Yes, he had a wrist surgery. People come back from that all the time. The back injury, I've been reading into it. I cannot find anywhere where it was to the degree that he needed any surgery. So I think that's overblown a bit, but we're going to find out because he's at the combine. I think all those medical reports will be there. The interviewing will be there. They'll get I think all the, Montreal will get a much better view. And he's the beast we need. He would be the perfect winger. While you're trying to unload someone like a Josh Anderson and get him out of the team, you got a guy who's a much better quality all-around player to fill that role properly. So to me, that would be the road to go. But I could accept Demidov. Those are the 1-2 punches. That's it. There's no other choice. Now, in saying that, I could swallow the pill of what's his name? Seneke. I can never get the guy's name right. Seneke. Seneke would be, I would say, palatable. He would not be my first choice. I would rather trade the draft pick off, but he is the size and has the offense. And I don't know how much grittiness he has. That would be something he would probably have to work on. But all of these players, other than Celebrini, are going to be developing more anyway in the lower ranks, finding their game. And they probably won't be here for another 2 years. Demidov might be here the year after he fulfills his contract in Russia. But Celebrini is probably the only guy that jumps straight into the NHL if he does. And so other than that, Seneke I could palate it. I could tolerate it. Other than that, there's nobody else. Sorry. Tage again, like the kid. Maybe with our second pick, if we're keeping that Winnipeg pick, maybe with that, I can live with it. Canton just doesn't do it for me size-wise. He's just far too small. We don't need any more small players. So we got to avoid that. We need size on the wings and production. Capable players. Be nice. We'll beef up the Habs. That's what we need. And goal scoring needs to be. We haven't had a top scorer since, it'd be nice to have another Max Naslund. We haven't had that since him. So anyway, that's how it goes. I just wanted to show you it because I tend to pay more attention to Bob McKenzie's draft. Wheeler's, I really don't put a whole lot of stock in that. His list, there's so many lists and they keep going up and down and changing. Even Craig Button's list is kind of wow. Grant McKegg's is kind of wow. So they're kind of all over the map. I tend to find McKenzie's a little more accurate in the value of these guys. So anyway, I'll show you. I had his last one, which was not long ago, but it has changed. I noticed that today. It changed from his last report, just bits. Celebrini, as we know, is hands down first. But Demidov is no longer in second on his list. He's now dropped to 6. That's a big drop. Going to Utah, that would be something else. But it leaves them open. Mind you, again, do these teams follow this? Then we got Silyev, who has jumped into Demidov's positioning from 3rd to 2nd. So he's done quite well. And that is the one defenseman that, if I was taking any of them, that would be the guy. Then there's Lucharov, or whatever they call him, and this guy's got a lot of talk on him. He's jumped up into 3rd from 4th. And then we go down to Caden Lindstrom, and Caden stayed steady in 5th. Now, and remember, though, we have to remember this, where Caden is sitting in that 5th position in ranking really is due to the injuries. So people are really putting a lot of stock in those injuries. Otherwise, Caden is 2 or 3. But if it's driving him down, that's fine, because it's perfect position for Montreal. But remembering, what do those teams above us need? That's the problem, right? So anyway, he stays steady, at least consistency at 5. Then we got a drop from 6th position. Dickinson drops from 6 to 7. Pariki drops from 7th to 9th. That's quite a drop. I didn't expect that. Then we got Helenius, the constant Helenius. He's gone up to 8th from 9th. Agenla was 10th. I didn't get where he moved. I'm pretty sure he dropped to 14th or 15th. Anyway, then we got Canton, who moved up to 10th from 11th. Then we got Yakachev, has stayed in 12th. Consistency again, hasn't moved. Here's the crazy one that blows my brain cells. Is Iserman has moved from 13th to 4th. That's nuts. Now, I know he's a pure goal scorer. There's so much else missing in his game. So that one, I say go ahead. Draft him, Chicago. Uh, or Columbus. Yeah. But anyway, I don't get that one. And then we got Seneke, who dropped, which surprised me, from 14th to 19th in this list, in Mackenzie's list. Then we got Connolly, that was at 15. He's moved up to 11th. Quite a big jump. That's been Snake Balthaire's guy to watch in the draft. I wouldn't mind him with our second pick if we were keeping the Winnipeg pick. But anyway, that's as far as I'm going. I'm sticking to the top 15 guys. And with that being the case, we got to really stand by our 1-2 punch. It's one or the other. The rumor is that Grant McKay talked to somebody in Chicago saying that they're leaning towards a defenseman. Now, do you buy that? You can't put all your stock in that. They could just be saying that and bluffing you. Third pick, he thinks the same thing with Anaheim. They're going for a defenseman. That would be great and dandy, because it would leave Demidov and Lindstrom to 4 and 5, which we get one of the two, which would be fine. Preferably for me, I'm in the Lindstrom camp, but I'd love to have Demidov. Wouldn't be a bad one. Like I said, it's those two. That's it. Or it's trade off the 5th rounder if you can. I'd like to see us trade up. It hasn't been done since the Sundins, but I'd love to see us trade up to the 2nd position. I highly doubt that's going to happen, but that way you avoid missing out on either of the two, and you get to pick the one of the two. And I think it's really going to depend on this combine. Because now they're going to have the interviews and have the full medical information on Caden. And I think, like I say, it's been overblown. I'm glad he's at a combine. And I hope that they're also finding a way to somehow deal with getting to talk to Demidov somehow and getting their due diligence there. But like I say, I would also... I would say that, there's been better words come out on him all the way around. His coaching staff, scouts, better than Mishkov. So we can't miss it this time, though. Last year we missed. And for someone to say, I heard the comment that, we're done in the rebuild. No, we're not done. Are you crazy? Done the rebuild. 5 years to do the rebuild. And last year, Slafkovsky was the perfect pick for year 1. And we did quite well with Hudson and all them boys in that draft, too. We got some steals there. But year 2, not so much. Like I said, I think Ryan Backer will be top first or second pairing defenseman. It's hard to say. He's got a lot more better defensive attributes to him, I think, which is more shutdownish and will probably log more minutes as a defenseman. So I think that's going to be his game. His offensive side is a question mark. Still a good guy. I'm in his camp, but we missed on what we really needed on an offensive player. So, yeah, the comment could have had some validity had we have gotten a forward and had addressed, because our forward group is in really horrible shape. When you're looking at caliber level, we've got one line that's pretty good. And then you got Doc, but he can't stay healthy, and we don't even know if we're going to have to readdress that situation. The up and coming season, I think, is going to tell a lot whether that pans out, because he's got the talent. It's, can he stay healthy? So we don't even know on that, as that could set us back. So people got to start thinking on that too. So we are nowhere near finished the rebuild. Now, people talking that, okay, with the free agency, this is not a great free agency. You've got a few players like Marner, who is definitely not suited for the Habs. There's, thank God, stay clear. We've got Zegras, who's now asking, we're hearing rumor from the insiders of Dreger and Cirelli and Freeman that he's made it clear that he wants out of Anaheim now. But he's not for us. He's too small. Great talent. But Marner's more proven than him. I hate to say it. And neither of them are suited for Montreal. They're too small. We got too many small guys now, and you would end up having to, there would be no point. You would have to unload, make a choice. Oh, what? You want Zegras or Marner over Caulfield and Newhook? Not for me. Even Newhook, he's a perfect third liner. At least he works hard. He's not a top six. He can fit in because we're so bad. But when the time comes that we're where we need to be, he's the third liner. But at least he's got good work ethic and will be a good third liner. Cole Caulfield, I would rather him. His heart's there and he's got skill. I'd rather him over those guys. Any day of the week, his defensive game is much better, improved a lot. He's got a lot more to him. I prefer him cultural-wise much more. So that, you can't go near those guys. They're too small. Stamkos is probably staying in Tampa. I can't see that going any other way. So you can, and in that free agency, who else is there? There really is only one guy that will fit the void for Montreal, and that is Natchez. No matter how you chalk it up, it's Natchez. There's nobody else. If we can't pick him up, and that would help us start fixing that second line and getting it up to caliber. It'd be nice to get him. That would be an adjustment. I mean, you could have him and I guess either Newhook on the other side or Roy. You'd pick one of the two. In the end, I'd rather almost see Roy in the end once he gets more time under his belt. But Newhook might be the beginning because he's more seasoned and speed. But that would be a start. You wouldn't have the total second line fixed yet. But if you draft right and you get Lidstrom, remember, nobody else is getting there in this draft but Celebrini in NHL. It's going to be a 2 or 3 year project on the rest of them. But by the time he arrives, and you had Natchez, if Doc can stay healthy, and you had Doc, and then you had Lidstrom, oh my word. And then, you're not even done knowing if those first two lines would stay the same with Slav up with those guys. Who knows, maybe you get 3 towering guys. So what thought needs to be said there, but Natchez is really the only guy from Montreal in this offseason. This offseason is not a bunch. Now you might be able to upgrade your bottom 6 easier. And I think we do need to address that. We have 3 or 4 guys that need to go. That just too many fourth liners. If we could somehow deal with getting rid of Anderson, that would be lovely. I can't see it. Some people are thinking we could do it. I can't see it. I can't see anybody wanting him. But if we could pull it off, go for it. I'd take anything to pull that off. But again, though, you want your cash free because we got big signings with Jack-Eye, Gooley, and Slav to make. So with that being said, I would say you got to make that deal. And from what we hear from the insiders, we are one of the top 3 or 4 teams that are in the mix. And, they seem to lean towards Montreal. And I hope that's the case, that we're really trying to get them. And we need to, because, Patterson, that's going to be hard to match with Vancouver. Could give them Allmark, same thing in Boston. But I say this, there's several different ways of what we could offer. We could look at it. Depends on what they want. If they're adamant, because I think if they're adamant, it's going to be Mike Matheson. And I don't want to see him go either. because he is talented. As bad as his defensive game is, he's talented offensively. But he's going to also have to bring. They're going to be bringing the reins in on the defense to play a little more positional, be more responsible. So that could be changing things too. But we got to make room for the guys coming up. We got a log jam, and we know that Hudson will take over his role probably in about 2 years. But I mean, if you have to do something, you do it while the iron's hot, and Matheson's got that value. If they absolutely, Carolina wants him, and you throw in the Winnipeg pick with him, go for it. Do it. You can still go get a veteran just to have to settle down the youngsters, to keep them settled, to be there. He doesn't have to be as high quality as Matheson in points, as long as he's good quality, a half decent defenseman, stability wise. Doesn't need to be a point producer because you got that coming with Hudson. So if you do it, I'd rather see, in my books, Matheson here for 2 more seasons. But if that's what Carolina wants and we want Natchez, you got to pull the trigger. Then the next avenue would be, and this is what I say, I mean, Beck, he did great at that Memorial Cup, and I like Beck, but there's something, I have my concerns. His size makes it concerning. I heard someone say he could move up to second line. I think that would be a stretch. He doesn't have that offensive side for me to that level, and he's too small. To me, he could turn into a very great in the face-off area. However, I think that could be somebody they're attracted to too. Meshar, same thing, small, but he's very gifted. But with the size, can he crack the lineup? Up top six. Top six. That's hard to say, and maybe you're wasting talent. Maybe that's a trade. Maybe those two guys could be on the map, and really, we shouldn't be trading Gooley, Jackeye, Hudson, Mayu, or Reinbacher. So that leaves you, and I would prefer to keep after those ones Harris as long as possible. After that, though, I mean, I still put Harris in that group. If you had to throw him in with Mishar and Beck, or throw I would prefer to unload Barron with those guys, and you do a first round pick this year, maybe you do an extra first round next year, but you got to pull this off, whichever way. And then you also have Kovacevic and Harris in that group, and Struble. And I think Struble could draw as well. I think the thing is Harris is so responsible. I just hate to see him go. He's so stable. I'd rather, like I say, unload Barron first choice, Struble or Kovacevic. And that's not including Savard, would be my first choice. Because I think it's time to move on. But I see him as great of a team player and stuff. He just slowed down, and we need to open that up for the youngsters like Mayu on that right side. For me, and that's the way I see that. I think he's done his job. They've learned a lot from him up to this point, but we may have him till trade deadline. So with that being said, that's what I think we got to do, and whatever it is that we got to do with that trade, do it. I say the only guys that are untouchable, that you should make untouchable, Gooley, Jackeye, because Jackeye brings something different that we've needed, and Mayu, although if they had to prime, you might have to. Same thing with Reinbacher, you might have to. And Lane Hudson, you might have to there. But I would prefer the first batch, like I said, Barron, Struble, Kovacevic, and Harris to be the guys, if there's guys going. And then you got Adam Enstrom as well, and Trudeau. But they're not going to be as, I don't think they'll be as sought after. Not proven yet. So with that being said, that's what I think Montreal needs to do. And I think, it'd be nice if we could start unloading 2 or 3 defensemen just to start clearing the space for the youngsters. And I honestly think, I don't know how fast Lane's going to be ready to be that left side being so competitive, where he's going to sit in that. I think he'll make it the team, but hard. How are you going to play him because he's of his size? That I'm concerned. A lot of people aren't. He's definitely got the smarts. But other than that, like I say, I think, hopefully we don't have to unload Matheson, but I say you can't let him hold back this team. If that's what Carolina wants and that's what they need, you pull the trigger. You can find defensemen in the free agency that can fill the void. We don't need it to absolutely be a top scoring defenseman because we got Lane Hudson and Mayu coming in, and they tend to have an offensive side. I think the guy who's shown not to be able to grab on and has fallen, in the sense that he can't seem to hang on to a spot is really Barron. So in that regard, I'd like to see him move on, or be in Laval. Now, that's just my opinion. You got to make a trade for them. That's my opinion. But I would love to hold on to Harris as long as I can go out of that 4 or 5 guys I mentioned that are more tradable. But I have a feeling he's so responsible, he could be what they're looking at. But then again, valuability, you got to block the guys you have to keep. And if it's Matheson, you got to pull the trigger because we can't pass up. This is the only guy in free agency, top 6 wise, that fits what we need. And we got to focus on that and Lidstrom for size. And either Lidstrom, or if you had to, Demidov, or Seneke if you had to pallet that. I'm not crazy about it, but prefer that to be the second pick that we have in the draft. But anyway, that would address our size on the wings. So with that being said, that addresses that. We had a big goaltending signing, 935, 934 was this guy's rating in Swiss League Hughes. I believe he played the Austrian, or he's Austrian or something like that. He's in the Ontario League as well. In the past, never drafted, but great sneaky pickup by Kent Hughes. I think this is a good pickup for Laval. I think it can't hurt that'll just help things with 3 goaltenders so we don't have a bad start off in Laval like we did last year. So I think that's a great move. I don't think he's an NHL goaltender, but in an injury situation, he might be good enough to just fill in a void. I think Dobish has got the promise of becoming something. As we know, Fowler will be definitely. And then the Russian goaltender who's got a good rating too. So anyway, with that being said, I think that was a great move for Laval to try to get them in the playoffs and maybe have those kids. Because really, right now, when we look at our forward group, we don't have a lot down in our system. I mean, I just see Beck as the third liner. He'd be a good defensive side. I just don't know. But he might be good trade bait, just like Mishar might be. But truthfully, I see what's in Laval. We got to work on our offense a lot in drafting now to fill the cupboards. We had the cupboards filled on defense. We didn't have the cupboards. We had a bunch of miniature Smurfs. And most of them won't make the NHL, not good enough. And they might fit in somewhere else, but they won't fit into Montreal because we're too small. It's not what we need. The only guys I can see coming up in the future is Kapanen, Tuck, possible Heineman, if he can get his act back together. Those are only 3 that seem size-wise to me that have a legitimate shot. And at that, there's nobody else, and they'll be bottom 6 players. So thank you for joining me. We will catch you. Where's Puck Drop first? You've seen it here at Center Ice Productions. Just wanted to talk about the things that needed to be talked about, and we'll keep an eye on things. Have a great summer, and we'll keep jumping in when we can as we're on vacation. And Habs got to get this right in the draft, and they also got to get this free because there's only one guy that's worth anything in our top 6. And other than that, it's next year. And then bottom 6, you might be able to upgrade in the free agency. So thank you for joining me. God bless you. We'll catch you in the next episode.